Welcome, it is Memorial Day. Look at the beautiful American flag. So, a disgrace in the state of Tennessee, not the American flag. The American flag stands for principles that the judiciary in Tennessee violates on a daily basis, quite frankly. So we're going to talk about that this morning. Welcome, come on in. It is Memorial Day, and it's important to remember our fallen soldiers on Memorial Day. God bless them. Thank them for their sacrifice. And we need to honor the sacrifice of our fallen soldiers. And today I'm going to point out some things that are very alarming. And this is the reason that we need to deal with these horrific things, specifically in the state of Tennessee, in the United States of America, and in your country. You can follow a similar pattern. We've got Canada, UK, other countries following us, and if I left out your country, I apologize. And thank you, fellow Americans, for listening. An important message on Memorial Day. A sad day where it is both a sad day and a happy day because soldiers fought for our freedoms. They shed their blood for the price of freedom. Freedom's not free. It was paid for in the blood of soldiers. And I thank them for that on this day. And this is the reason why I say publicly that we still have a fight, because the judiciary and the court system in the state of Tennessee, as alarming as it may sound, which is very true, and we're going to go through the evidence, is trampling on the blood of our soldiers that fought for your Constitution. They're ignoring it. Soldiers shed their blood to protect our way of life, which is the Constitution, which is our rights against the government in the state of Tennessee, in the whole United States of America. And I thank them for that. And I honor that on today's date. And I want to bring up an important issue, that let's not allow those soldiers to have died in vain. Let's not let our government to end this grand experiment that's lasted, I think, over 250 years. The United States of America has been in existence. And let's continue to remember our soldiers and what they stood for, and the sad reality that I'm going to point out today, present my case to the public on this Memorial Day. Let's continue to fight for the memory of our soldiers and the Constitution that they fought for and gave us for free, that the Tennessee Judiciary, not all of them, a huge part of them, and the Tennessee court system, as horrifying as it may sound, and it is in reality horrifying, that's the reason why I'm saying it, are trampling on the blood of soldiers that fought for the Constitution. They're completely ignoring it and trampling on it and taking away citizens' rights in the state of Tennessee and all of the United States of America, ignoring our protections against the rogue government, against the rogue judiciary in the state of Tennessee. Today is a Memorial Day, a great day to mention these horrifying things that are going on in our court systems, because they surreptitiously, as chameleons, try to hide the fact that they are not perpetrating freedom for Americans in Tennessee courtrooms. We have the judiciary in Tennessee that is creating horrific crimes against the Constitution on the mass populace of Tennesseans almost on a daily basis. And when you have soldiers that fought for that Constitution, and you have the judiciary in Tennessee and the court system, a lot of lawyers, the whole apparatus of the unjust system, denying what soldiers fought for, what soldiers bled and died for. It is horrific. And my hope and prayer is that it will wake up Tennesseans, that we continue the memory of our fallen soldiers who have gave us thus far, and we need to pick up the baton and make their blood worthwhile, because people in the judiciary, as disgusting and despicable as it may be, and it is very despicable, they are trampling on the blood of our fallen soldiers that fought for the Constitution by ignoring your rights against the government. And we're going to talk about a lot of cases today. I'm going to lay out the evidence, specific cases where things so bad in the judiciary have come to light in the state of Tennessee. Some landmark cases. And that is only the tip of the iceberg as compared to the monopoly, the cartel that's going on in the state of Tennessee. And if you all think that I'm a lunatic, I'm the only one saying that. There are people in government power right now with legitimate power and authority who are saying some of the same things that I'm saying. So this is not out there. This is forefront and center. And on a day when we're remembering our soldiers and what they fought for, what they gave us, I think we need to remember, and I do, that if we don't pick up the baton and protect our rights that they have given us with the most valuable thing they have, what greater love has any man than that he laid down his life for his friends? And they have laid down their lives for the cause of freedom, justice, for the American ways of life, for the Constitution. And it is being taken away, however so seditiously, disgustingly, by people in government power in the state of Tennessee today. And that is the truth. It's not pretty. Soldiers' death is not pretty. It's a sad day. And it will be even sadder if we let this great experiment slip away. And it is slowly slipping away. Slowly slipping away. They're taking away our rights at an alarming level here lately. And people are getting used to it. It's okay, it's okay. They're getting us used to the heat. Like a boiling hot pot of water where they slowly lower you in it and you get used to the heat and you don't recognize it until it's too late. Well, it's getting almost too late, and on this Memorial Day, let's pick up the baton and fight for what our soldiers fought for, our own very freedoms. And there's a lot of different ways we can do that. Hello. A lot of different ways we can do that. The main way is to vote in the upcoming elections this year. Go to the polls en masse and remember our fallen soldiers, what they fought for. And I'm going to point out to you, you can make whatever decision you want to make. I don't tell people what to think. I present the evidence. I'll tell you what I believe that you should think. But it's a free country. People can think whatever they want. That's the beauty of Americans. But they're taking away your right to think for yourself. They're making, similar to thought crimes, they're making personality crimes. They're taking away our rights in this country. Soldiers fought for those rights. They bled and died. Let's not let it be irrelevant today. Let's remember what the judiciary and the court system is doing in the state of Tennessee. And what those soldiers fought for, that our judiciary, corrupt as they may be, and this is not a violent fight. This is a political fight, political warfare, civilized warfare, in courtrooms and in voting booths, and in contacting friends and neighbors and contacting all across the state of Tennessee. Because those soldiers died, let's remember that, and pick up the torch and recognize the blood that they shed for our freedoms, and pick up the torch and don't let them die in vain. They could literally die in vain if the things keep happening in the Tennessee courts, judiciary, and in the Tennessee government that are going on right now. And it's pretty blatantly obvious and I'm going to point it out to you. And these are just things that we know about, that we have been made aware of, that have reached the surface like the iceberg. You see how many people we got in here? If we're on good. These are just things, hello, thank y'all for coming on board. These are just things that we're aware of, the tip of the iceberg. Huge, huge public corruption, judicial corruption, system in the courts, corruption under the surface. And God's put me through this. I've lived through this. To be able to say it not from a distance, from close up and personal. Not personal so that I can fight for my personal rights, which is part of it. Personal so that I can see what they're doing to all Tennesseans, to all Americans in this horrific state of Tennessee, where the government tramples on the blood of soldiers and ignores the Constitution in so many ways, and the judiciary is all over it for the most part. For the most part, they trample on the blood of soldiers. Let's remember that on Memorial Day. Let's stop the Tennessee courts and the Tennessee corrupt cartel system that people in government authority have recognized. It's not just me. It's coming from top levels of our government have recognized the public corruption in the state of Tennessee. Let's see if we can get across this road without getting run over. We made it barely. So thank y'all for joining me. And we're going to present cases in detail about the judiciary and about the court system, some specific cases, and that's not all of them. There's more that we don't even know about, that go hidden and protected. And when I was running for public office, which I have every right to do, any of y'all have every right to run for public office, and I would encourage that, or support someone in public office and get power to protect the Constitution and our way of life, which is not what's going on now. It's not. It's gotten in the hands of foreign spies in California, and it's gotten in the hands of illegal immigrants in power in the government in the state of Tennessee. Our government has trampled on the blood of soldiers. That's what's going to be today's show, a memorial to try to encourage people to pick up the baton and don't let their blood be wasted. It's our responsibility. They've gave all they have. They can't do anymore. They gave the greatest sacrifice, and I honor that. And it will go in vain. And they are trampling on their blood right now. It ought to make people furious. And if you think I'm trying to make people furious, I'm not trying to make people furious. I'm telling you the facts. If you get furious about it and handle it justifiably, non-violently, then that's justified. That's appropriate. You make up your own mind. I'm pretty justified, furious about the people in government power in the state of Tennessee. In case you haven't noticed, and I'm handling it appropriately, legally, they are not. They are violent, dangerous, dirty pigs that are squealing like hell, that think the government is a religion, when we have real human beings, real young men that forfeited some of their entire lives, died young in military service for this country, protecting the Constitution and our way of life. And we have people in government power who completely ignore that. They have the power to do it. They've lied to get elected. They have played up to people who have got elected unjustifiably and backed them up in the courtrooms and don't adjudicate fairly. And we're going to discuss that in detail with some specific cases, realizing, and many of you have stories, that's just the tip of the iceberg to the humongous problem that's going on in America today, in the state of Tennessee specifically, that we're going to deal with. And we're picking up the baton and carrying this forward in spite of great opposition. Great opposition. I mean, I hardly can't do a show without naysayers and stupid people screaming and yelling at me, and then they say I'm doing wrong when I'm exercising a constitutional right, because these people in public power have convinced them that you shut up and go along. And I'm not going to. It's not going to happen. And I am not Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm not. He was a great example of tactics. But if you throw a brick at me, then get ready. Bricks are coming hurling back. That's not going to happen on my watch. So I believe in self-defense 150,000%. Now, this is not a violent war, but this is a political war, and this is a war of self-defense. I defend myself, and people have every right to. That's what soldiers fought for, our right to defend ourselves. The Second Amendment was written, and I'm not calling for a violent war with guns against the government, but the Second Amendment was written so that we could protect ourselves against the government. I mean, people knew, our forefathers that founded this country, that wrote the Constitution, that judges and people in government power would go rogue. They predicted it. They wrote protections against that. That's what the Constitution is, your power against the government. But rogue, seditious Tennessee court judges, Tennessee lawyers, the Tennessee politicians have bought power, some from outside influences in other countries. Some from spies have bought power and have infiltrated our government and seek to overthrow, through seditious, surreptitious means, our government in the state of Tennessee. And you can see it happening in real time, in real life. When you have a political candidate who is peacefully campaigning for public office, abiding by every law in the United States, according to the Constitution, and you have that candidate incarcerated instead of being allowed to spread their message, just because they don't have $1 billion that they've exploited off people, that is soldiers, officers of the law, a whole county, a prosecutor's office, trampling on the blood of soldiers that gave us the right to freedom of speech, to be able to run for public office and criticize the government. That's real time. That's just one incident. Incarcerated in the United States, you say that happened in Russia. No, that happened in the state of Tennessee, in America, in Hamilton County, Tennessee. And I know what they say. I know they're surreptitious. They lie. They do things undercover. They're not going to tell you that they're not out for the Constitution and protect your rights. They're not going to tell you that. It's surreptitious. It's a propaganda war, nonetheless. Nonetheless, in some ways worse than the war soldiers fought and died for. And we need to confront this evil wickedness head on with force and intent, and call it out for what it is, and use this Memorial Day as fuel to recognize the soldiers' sacrifice and recognize it didn't end there. They did all they can do, and we thank them so much for that. They believed in the fight. They believed in the Constitution. They believed in America. And we need to believe in that too. And you need to see, and I'm going to present it to you. They taught me how to do it. God put me on this side of the Constitution, which is the right side, in opposition to people in power, taught me lessons so I can tell you this truthfully and faithfully, knowing I've got real scars. I didn't just see them happen, and they're going to happen to you, which is why I'm here, to protect the mass populace of Tennesseans on this Memorial Day. I'm picking up the torch. I already have. Years ago, this fight's been on. You may just be seeing it now. It didn't start the other day. They've been doing this for years and getting by with it. Trampling on the blood of soldiers in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They trampled on the blood of soldiers. That's exactly what I told those officers who violently, unlawfully arrested me, beat me up, and lied about things on the video camera that's never been released. That is, they trampled on the blood of soldiers. I told them that to their face. They literally thought that they could arrest me, beat me up so bad I had to go to the hospital, hurt for days. They thought that that would humiliate me and that would make me go away. This fight is not worth it. And be afraid of them. Instead, I told them to their face exactly what they're doing, arresting a political candidate that's obeying the law on the ballot, speaking against the government, which is my right, speaking truthfully against people in government power, not advocating an overthrow of the government. They're advocating an overthrow of the people. And they don't like the Constitution. It gives us power to analyze what they're telling you and see if it's right. When they stop someone from doing that, they are trampling on, and I told them they thought I'd be afraid. You are trampling on the soldiers' blood that fought for my rights. They literally gave their life for my right to stand out here and ask people peacefully, safely to vote for me, just like the billionaire candidates and their entourage, because there were other parties out there at the scene that didn't get a hand put on them. And I was peacefully campaigning for the right while they were spreading destructive, false narratives and messages like they have been doing. I mean, how's it going for you with the Democrats and Republicans? How's it going for you? The number one issue in the state of Tennessee, according to voters and little children, I would think, is being able to eat. The cost of living in the state of Tennessee. And the reason that your cost of living is high is because the government, people in government power, are trampling on the Constitution. They're not letting you run your government. They're lying to you and telling you that they are, that you're running it, but you're not. They're telling you there's free and fair elections, but there's not. It's not a free and fair election when you have a candidate get arrested for no legitimate reason. And that's what happened in the state of Tennessee. That's an example of them trampling on the blood of soldiers in the state of Tennessee. Now, they lie and say things that they cannot prove, and that's propaganda. They put it out by the masses. They say that I did all these horrific, horrible things, and I'm not going to even give it airtime because it's not true, it's false. They had a body cam on, several of them, police officers, 5 of them around there. Put one video out of any of the allegations that you said I did. There's cameras all over that place. And I'm telling you what happened, I was there. And they tell you what happened when you weren't there, and people believe it because they keep telling you that false message. But if you're there and you've seen what happened, and you know that you didn't do anything wrong, that you're exercising a constitutional right that soldiers fought for, and you still end up like you're in Russia fighting Putin with poison food, you have to watch what you eat, then you realize that their narrative is a lie, and their dirty court system, other than a jury, which I would have taken it to, and other than a honest, fair to that point federal judge, they would have got by with incarcerating a political candidate for no wrong and no evidence based on lies, because they told lies in their damn warrants. Do you think for 10 seconds that they would charge somebody with serious felonies involving violence and weapons, and then a few months down the road, when they are contested, not violently like they did me and you, do you think that they would dismiss the charges? Why would they do that? Maybe because the videos that they have never released, ever will, because they're releasing lies. They won't release the evidence. Do you think that they would just dismiss the charges? No, the things they said never happened. And they know they lied, and if they would have prosecuted it, they would have had to explain why they violated the Brady rule. They didn't give the evidence of the body cameras, which they had full, live, and going, which they may still have. I challenge them, put out that video. Every bit of it. They don't have anything that they say they had. They accuse me of being violent. I wasn't violent. They accused me of resisting arrest. Where's the video that shows me resisting arrest? It didn't happen. What I'm telling you is prime example, one example of standing up against them. Legitimately, legally, going through their own damn rules, being on the ballot, obeying the 20-foot line. And they trampled on the blood of soldiers that fought for my right to campaign because they didn't like my message. They don't like anybody that stands against them and their utopia government, not a utopia for you. You're a servant of the government, a utopia for them. And when you can't do them any good anymore, when you get old, they'll take your job away from you, and they will cut out hospitals in your counties and give you a death sentence directly. Have you noticed these rich people in public power live very happy, long lives in their great, wonderful, what they call land of the free and the home of the brave? No, it's not. At the top of the government, it is land of the oligarchy and home of servants under us. And the mass population in Tennessee, it's the home of the brave. And whether they want to recognize it or not, we still have the Second Amendment, and I'm not saying to use it, I'm saying to vote. And we are free. And there's more of us than thee. And we will win, and we will stop you from trampling on the blood of soldiers. And let's today, in memory of soldiers, pick up the baton that they gave everything. They can't give anymore. They gave their life. They gave all. And we still have some we can do to pick up that baton and protect the Constitution of the United States, our right to fight against the government peacefully at the voting booth, contest what they're doing illegitimately, contest the illegitimate court system in the state of Tennessee, to protect against the cartel that they're running in the legal system right now. Not just said by me. I'm not the one saying that. I got that word, and I'm repeating what somebody in the government said that's in high power in the government. They know not everybody in the government's wicked and evil. I said that. I believe that. That is true. They get buried and demolished by the crooks in power because they're wicked and dirty. And there's a few honest people, and I'm gonna show you who said that, who already brought to the attention of the mass populace in a government document that called the judicial system, the legal system, a cartel in the state of Tennessee and all across America. Somebody in public power repeating what I've been saying and putting it in a government document. The legal system's a cartel. That's what he said. Use that exact word, cartel. Not me in that form. I've been putting it out on YouTube. Worldwide. And if the legal system's a cartel, which is a illegitimate way to run the judiciary, then, and I'll read you definitions, then that is trampling on the blood of soldiers. That's not what the judiciary is designed for. It's supposed to be blind justice. You're not supposed to honor the oligarchy, hand-pick judges, and always rule in these billionaires' favors and these politicians' favor against the mass populace. And your friends and family and your elite proxy that you do favors for, that have bought out the judiciary for money. And that's not the way this government is supposed to be. That's not what soldiers gave their lives for. So I'm asking you today, pick up the baton on this Memorial Day. Remember, they gave all. We can give some. We can fight against this tyranny that is affecting all Tennesseans, the mass populace of Tennesseans. You won't hear this message anywhere else. Fighting against government power. Speaking the truth to power. A nonviolent truth of attrition, perseverance and voting and messaging. So let's pick up the baton that the soldiers had, that they gave their life. They can't fight anymore. They gave everything that they had. And let's pick up that, and don't let that go in vain, because it can go in vain. Because these people are trampling on that. Trampling on the blood of soldiers that believed in America, this great experiment, and believed in our way of life, believed in honest judiciary that rules in favor of the weak and less powerful when it's the truth, when it's right. And you don't have that right now. You don't have that. And we're going to talk about some specific cases in the state of Tennessee where judges have done some pretty crooked, corrupt, dastardly deeds, and it's pretty disgusting. And I'm not even talking about the cases here in Knox County that have happened recently. I'm talking about other places in the state where the tip of the iceberg has gotten so horrific and exposed itself that they've had to do a little bit about it, but it's just a small amount of the huge cartel undercover that you can't see. And you make up your own mind. You make up your own mind. My mind's made up because I've seen it firsthand in reality, and some of y'all have too. And thank you very much. And if you haven't seen it, take it from me and others on here so that you don't have to experience the horrificness and the corruption and the cartel that a government official called it. Now, I'm just agreeing with him. He's agreeing with me. The cartel that's underneath the surface that you can't see. So save yourself the trouble and help this channel subscribe and comment. And if you at all can, help us with money to get the truth out with leaflets and ink and messaging. This kind of war is not a war of bullets. It's a war of attrition and messaging and truth. So help us get the truth out. And this man in government just helped us out a hell of a lot by calling the judiciary and the system a cartel, which is exactly is. So I'm fighting that on every front. I'm fighting it in federal court, trying to show how unjust they are against the Constitution. That is my case in federal court, that the Tennessee courts are making unconstitutional, biased rules against members of society. And I'm fighting that in federal court every day. It's a live controversy right now. So when you fight a war, you fight them on several different means. And Memorial Day is a good day to point that out. Wow, we got over 100 people in here. Memorial Day, we recognize soldiers gave their life for what I'm fighting for. They gave their life for your rights. They didn't give their life for government power. They didn't give their life for that. The government's going to be powerful. They gave their rights, their lives, to protect you from a rogue government, to protect you from the government. That's our way of life in the United States of America. We don't worship the government. We have a constitution where the government, our agreement with the government is that they serve us, the mass populace of people. Now I'm here to tell you that fight is live and real, because today, right now in the state of Tennessee, for the most part, horrifyingly, they don't do that. They don't do that at all for the most part. Now they breadcrumb people. Breadcrumb. Keep people happy enough to keep feeding the machine that's going to run over you eventually. Save yourself the trouble. Take it from me and many others on here that that's exactly what they'll do. they will mistreat you. Now, God's put me through some bad stuff. Other people have went through worse to teach me that this stuff is real, needs to be fought, to help soldiers. I think of Patrick Fitzgibbon. You don't have to give your life like him. He was a 19-year-old soldier killed in Afghanistan in the United States Army. A roadside bomb blew him in several different pieces. And there's other soldiers, and this is a day to remember them. And I can't think of all the soldiers' names, but every soul is important. And Patrick Fitzgibbon was blown into several different pieces, and he's a relative of Michelle's, and a great father, and a great family. And I was honored with the privilege when I was a state trooper of escorting him from the airport to Barry's funeral home, and then from Barry's funeral home to the Memorial Gardens out there on Alcoa Highway. They couldn't even have an open casket because he was blown into so many pieces. He was out on patrol protecting America, protecting the Constitution, protecting our way of life. And it's not our way of life now. He's gone. He can't do this anymore. He can't do it anymore. We need to step up, the people that can, and pick up the banner on this Memorial Day. Remember that. Because it can. It can. Our freedoms can go away, and they're slowly slipping away. I'm about to show you some horrific things. It's just a drop in the bucket. It's what they put out in the media. That's just a little bit with their narrative. Doesn't tell you the real horrificness of this stuff. So welcome, come on board. So yeah, over 100 people. So like and share and contribute if you can. Help us spread this message. A message that's picking up the baton of those that gave everything they had. And we don't have to do that. All we have to do is remember and keep their dream alive, because they can't do it anymore. Patrick Fitzgibbon was blown in several different pieces in Afghanistan by a roadside bomb while he's out on patrol with the United States Army, a United States Army soldier. And that's what this day is about. Remembering him and all the soldiers that gave their life to protect our way of life. He paid the price that we don't have to pay. But you do need to pay a price in honoring him and not letting what he died for slip away, because he's not here to fight anymore. And we should feel a responsibility to fight for our Constitution, or what he fought for is meaningless. And that is the great tragedy that is taking place every day in the state of Tennessee. And that's why the icon, and it's not inflammatory conspiracy. It's going on. I'll show you. Fitzgibbon was killed by a roadside bomb, and people that are against us fighting Iran, the intelligence reports say, and no one has substantially paid, I don't think, until recently. The intelligence reports say that Iran funded and built the roadside bombs that killed American soldiers in Afghanistan. They're responsible for worldwide terrorism in their jihadist government. So what's going on right now in Iran, as far as what we have been doing in the past few days to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, is just because of fallen soldiers' blood that they caused. And if you're worried about a few cents more in the gas prices, remember that soldier's blood when you pay that gas price. A few cents compared to he gave his life for what the people in government power in Iran did to him by sponsoring state-sponsored terrorism from a terroristic government. Hello. So you give a few cents at the gas pump, it shouldn't take that long. He gave his life. Let's make them pay, and we have what the Iranians did to Patrick Fitzgibbon and hundreds and thousands of other soldiers in the United States military. They gave all. Let's give a few cents in gas prices and encourage the president to get what we want, justice, vindication, and stop Iran from being able to continue to kill our soldiers and threaten the sovereignty of the United States and threaten the sovereignty of Israel. So Memorial Day, that's what he fought for. He was killed most likely by Iranian-made, paid-for roadside bombs. A 19-year-old soldier, now you think about it, and there are many other ones. He was 19 years old when he was killed. He gave all, everything he had, his whole life ahead of him in this world. But he believed in this great experience so much, and the Constitution so much, in this country. He loved this country, wanted to fight and serve it. Did not want to die, but I assure you, when you get in the military, that you know, and they tell you that that is a possibility. And he did, in fact, give his life at 19. Didn't have any children, wasn't married. He could have had a future. He could have went to college. He could have had children. He had a girlfriend that he was going to get married to. He gave all that up. Memorial Day. He gave all that up. And I'm 61, got children, a family. I didn't have to give that up. I didn't have to give that up. I still have my life. Now, the state's done some bad things to me to teach me a lesson, to set me on fire, to show me how wicked these people are, what they're doing to soldiers. Trampling on their blood. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about our rights against them. They want you to shut up and do what you're told. And we don't have to in this country. We had soldiers that died. Let's pick up the baton and show them that we don't have to. You have to do what the people in the United States of America tell you to do, or you will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And that's what we're fighting for, prosecution of people in government power that trample on Patrick Fitzgibbon's blood. Didn't have a family, gave his life, gave all that up. That's a high price to pay for what I enjoy, the freedom to run for public office. I should have that freedom. Do I really? The freedom to speak out, the freedom to think what I want, the freedom to peacefully protest, the freedom to vote, the freedom to ask other people to vote. Patrick Fitzgibbon and hundreds of thousands over the course of this great experiment have given their lives so that I can have that right without a substantial price. And they gave their lives for this so valuable right that I have. I'm so humbled and appreciative on this Memorial Day. And at the same time, and I'm asking you all to be, this is real, this is not fake. I'm asking you all to be disgusted and horrified at the government in the United States of America. There's a nice officer. At the United States of America. The people in government power in the United States of America who are trampling on their blood and ignoring what they gave up, which was everything. You look around and what you've got today, even as little as it is with the tyrannical government that we have. And then you look at what they gave up so that you can have that right. And then you think about people in government power even that honor that soldier and know and aren't going to put up with it, that say that our judicial system, our legal system in the whole United States of America is a cartel. Now, I'm not just the one that's saying that. Somebody in the government said that there's other good people in this country, but it is infested. It has been corrupted with disgusting, despicable judiciary in the state of Tennessee, in the United States of America. called out by some of their own people, there's still some people with integrity. I'm asking you to look and be disgusted by them trampling on Patrick Fitzgibbon's blood. He didn't have a wife, the opportunity to get one. He didn't have offspring, the opportunity to get one. He didn't live out his life at 19 years old, cut way short for what he thought was valuable, and I agree with him. My and your right and our children's right to continue this grand experiment of freedom. And the problem that I'm dealing with and that you're dealing with, that you don't have to go through what I've went through, and some people much more horrific, is that these dirty rats, these disgusting people, have infiltrated our own government, and right now, today, they're taking away those rights. And there's not much we can do about it, except for a hell of a lot, is to stand up and vote. Vote and put out the message and contest these evil, wicked, dirty judiciary in the state of Tennessee. And we're almost to our signature location and honor soldiers. They're going to have a memorial, I think, about 11:30 at the World's Fair site, where they've got a memorial and call out soldiers' names. And I want you to remember today, and we're going to talk about the judiciary and how it's a cartel, that they're trampling on their blood today. People in government power. I'm saying that. That's for real. Soldiers gave their life for freedoms. And astonishingly, horrifyingly enough, you won't hear it anywhere else. Nowhere else. Share, like the channel, subscribe, contribute if you can. Let's not allow the cartel in the state of Tennessee, in the United States of America, he calls it out, to trample on their blood in the legal system. He calls out the legal system a cartel, and void the sacrifice and make it useless of what Patrick Fitzgibbon gave. He can't do anymore. It's up to us. And I ask you, and I'm going to, pick up the baton and fight legally, legitimately, justifiably against these liars, these crooks, these nasty people in public power. And I've told them to their face that are trampling on the blood of soldiers that fought for our freedoms. So let's look at the beautiful view. Hold on with me. We got some real live cases that we're talking about. As you look at the beautiful view, thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all. Y'all part of the fight. You're picking up the banner, the baton today by watching this channel, listening to this message to contest the people in power that are trampling on soldiers' blood. I'm not afraid. I've told them that to their face directly while they were incarcerating me for exercising that right that they lied about, obviously, and still lie about today. I went through that, and you don't have to. You don't have to. You can help me pick up the banner and fight with me, sharing, liking the program. I'm on the governor's ballot. Contribute to the legal fight, contribute to the campaign, contribute to helping keep your First Amendment right alive, contribute to helping keep your Second Amendment right alive, contribute to your Fourth Amendment right to privacy from the government. They'd like to take that away from you. And I'm fighting to stop them, just like Patrick Fitzgibbon did. He can't do it anymore. I'm picking up the banner. I ask all of you all on this Memorial Day, they're gone. They gave all, some of them a lot, their whole life ahead of them. Let's pick up the banner and fight for what they did, that they can't do anymore, and you can. Everyone can do something. Freedom is not free. You don't have to give your life. Give your vote. Give your like, share. Give your support. Give your influence. Talk to other people and fight. I'm not talking about a conspiracy theory. I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about the values of the Constitution, the values of freedom, the values of justice. Pick up the banner and help me fight for that. Because I'm going to present my case that people in government power are not fighting for that. They're fighting for themselves, violating the Constitution, and they're crooked as hell. They're crooked as hell. So if you can, go to Memorial today and think about the sacrifice that these soldiers gave and what you can do for America. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. For your country, you can preserve our way of life, our Constitution, by getting up and voting, by contributing, by fighting the fight, picking up the banner that the soldiers have laid down because they gave everything they had. And you don't have to give everything you have. You don't have to give everything you have. All you have to do is participate and listen to the evidence and make up your mind about who is trying to fight for the Constitution and who's not. And then we're going to show you who in government power is calling out the system as a cartel in the government. It's not just me saying that. And even our president said we have judges that are crooked, but it's not him I'm talking about. It's others. And our Constitution, our way of life is slipping away by an oligarchy that is making the separation between the rich and the poor at horrific levels, that is not living by the Constitution, that's buying power, buying court hearings, buying adjudicative rulings that are against the fact, and they're doing that right now under your noses. A lot of you know it. If you don't, take my word for it, and don't just take my word for it, listen to the evidence. So we're going to lay that out today at our beautiful pulpit, which is the Henley Bridge. They won't allow me in a courtroom because I tell the truth. They say that they won't allow me in a courtroom because I'm not candid. I'm very candid. That's why they won't allow me in a courtroom. Honest and candid. So thank you all. Welcome. Come on board. And we're going to lay out the evidence of a rogue Tennessee judiciary and show you what they're doing to you in this country. So court corruption in Tennessee, judges, prosecutors, political influence, documented evidence. Hang on, I promised you a lot. Let's see if I can deliver. I think I can. You know, the wonderful thing, as you look at the beautiful view, my brother-in-law told me my shirt was all messed up when I got to the bridge, so I'm straightening it out. So I'll listen to people when they have good comments. So I've made a lot of bold accusations. Now let's present my case. And they taught me how to do this. They taught me in their courtrooms, literally, through 18 years in court as a state trooper and a police officer, and before that even security and as a corrections officer. They taught me how the court system was. They taught me from observation what their means and methods are. And I can tell you, first-hand experience, didn't read it in the paper, didn't see it in the news, didn't even have a second party tell me. That's honest. I've seen it for my very own self in real life time, and no one can tell me any different because I've seen it. Now, you might have a different take on it, but you can't tell me what I've seen. I know what I've seen, and that's what they try to do. They tell you What you've seen is not really what you've seen. What you experience is not really what you experience with your own eyes. What you heard with your own ears is not really what you heard. Or if you won't back down from that, they say, well, you heard it and you saw it, but you misunderstand it. It's not in the right context as it really was. You're wrong in how you see things. And they tell you that. They tell you that. And don't buy that. Don't buy that. Pick up the baton the honorable soldiers laid down for you to pick up when they gave their life. What you see and what you hear and the context you put it in is correct. Don't let them breadcrumb you and lie to you. It's not working. So, federal cases, when the U.S. government had to step in because Tennessee won't, we're going to talk about some cases like that. For example, the case I was involved in personally, while I'm out here on the sidewalk, 61 years old, passed the bar exam twice, more than other lawyers in the state, have more education than other lawyers in the state, but I'm out here still fighting to get my law license. When other lawyers with family and inside the cartel get them day one, get a free ride through college sometimes, get a scholarship, but they commit crimes and are still lawyers and deny me to be able to protect your constitutional rights in the courtroom because I stand up against them. Soldiers fought and died for our way of life, for our rights, to have lawyers that protect your constitutional rights. They have a cartel. Barbara Zulica, literally a judge in my case, Tennessee judge, adjudicated that I'm not candid, which means that you tell the truth, but you don't tell the whole truth. And that's what they adjudicate against me, that I tell the truth, but I don't tell the whole truth, that I'm not candid, I lack candor, which is a lie. The judiciary that adjudicated that is lying about that. They don't tell the truth at all, not even the whole truth, they lie, and they even commit criminal acts. And that's not me making that up. This is just one example, there's others. She was committing a crime, she's a judge in the state of Tennessee, Tennessee Board of Law Examiners. She was formerly a crime of dishonesty, a felony of deceit, stealing your tax money. Not isolated incident, happens a lot all across the state of Tennessee. They cover it up. The state of Tennessee didn't even uncover it. The federal adjudicators did. And she was committing a felony of deception. At the time she's adjudicating that I'm not candid. It means I'm truthful, I just don't tell the whole truth, which is not true. That's not true. I'm very truthful, I'm very candid. I told them the whole truth about everything on their application. So what she's saying is that I'm not candid means that I tell the truth, not the whole truth. In order to prove that legally, we're talking about lawyers, we're talking about legal stuff now. In order to prove that legally, which is what they said, we proved this legally, which they did not. They have to prove that I told a story and left something out with intent to deceive them. Because if you tell a story, answer questions, whatever, you answer them to the best of your ability as truthful as possible. If you leave something out, that doesn't mean you're being deceptive. That means you left something out. Because telling a story might take books and books, and that's not what they want. Yes or no, and a short explanation. But in order to prove lack of candor, they have to prove that you left something out in the story that's material with intent to deceive. That's the law. That's federal law, federal court law, case law. They didn't prove that because I did not leave anything out with any intent to deceive whatsoever at all. In fact, I have never been convicted of a criminal offense involving theft or dishonesty. But the judge that adjudicated that I'm not candid has been adjudicated a felon for deception, which she committed against me, denying me my law license. Stepping on soldiers' blood. You don't have the right to an attorney that will protect your constitutional rights because of the Tennessee cartel judiciary. I'm not the one that said that. That's just one example of the Tennessee judiciary. One of them chased me down the street. They're violent people, and the light turned green, so I left. I'm not going to stand on the street and fight these people. He's lucky he didn't catch me. Jeffrey Ward, who was over the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners. That's how wicked these people are. That's our Tennessee unjust system. Soldiers fought for a justice system, and these people mocked that, trample on their blood. That's just one example. God put me through that so that I can know. I didn't have somebody else tell me about that. I literally went through that. I see how unjust they are, and I think about soldiers fought for that. Let's pick up the banner and make sure they get it, because we're not getting that now in the state of Tennessee. That's not the only case. The case that they're talking about, that I didn't update my law school, I did tell my law school about the unlawful adjudication that I saw a wreck off the road in the middle of the night and passed it. That case was not final, wrongfully final, in the unjust court system. That soldiers didn't fight for that kind of court system. They fought for a just court system. I've got the soldiers' memorial banner in my hand, and so do you if you fight against the Tennessee judiciary lawfully and non-violently. They don't. They got lies. Stepping on soldiers' blood's what they're doing. That's not what soldiers fought for. A judiciary that lies, that is just completely, totally corrupt. And if you ignore it, you let the soldiers' blood just go in vain. They fought needlessly. Let's don't let that happen. Let's fight the crooked judiciary. I did tell my law school about false termination from the Highway Patrol, where they should not have fired me. Stuff I did not do. Now the crooked Tennessee judiciary falsely adjudicated and committed all kinds of criminal acts in getting a case to fruition in their favor. That's not what soldiers fought for. A judiciary that's rigged. And that's what they got now. Now this is just one case. I know, I went through this so I can tell you. I know this. I've seen it up close and personal. And it affects you too. Other cases done much worse than me. In order for you to be trained and realize the significance and importance of things, you might need to be scratched and beat up a little bit by it so you know how dangerous it is. Have some real scars, some force to fight. This is real. It's not a game. We're not going away. Soldiers didn't go away until they gave their last breath, and we're not going away either. So I did tell the law school. The case wasn't even over, which they seditiously, mysteriously don't put in their ruling, until after I was already out of law school and passed the bar exam. So how was I supposed to tell my law school that I'd already graduated from? Go back and tell them? I mean, what are they going to do? Take back my degree because of a rogue court ruling? Even a judge that advertises for that school that's related to the governor, former governor, adjudicated falsely against me. Wow, the whole system's corrupt. There are some just judges, not very many. Tennessee only charged one judge for wrongdoing. So we're going to cover something the mainstream won't cover. We're going case by case through the documented federal record of court corruption in Tennessee. Not allegations, not opinions, federal convictions, federal indictments, federal investigations. Just the tip of the iceberg, what they had to come forward with, because it sticks this ugly head up, gets so bad. They cover a lot up. This is only what you can get, what you can collect that's been left out on the table that they haven't been able to cover up. Because here's the pattern nobody wants to say out loud. In every single one of these cases, the state of Tennessee never charged a soul. It took the FBI, it took the U.S. attorneys, it took federal prosecutors from Washington. Because when the people running the courts are the ones committing the crimes, the state can't police itself. It never does. Federal cases, all documented, charged by Tennessee state judges, legislators, speakers, all required federal action. Like Barbara Zulica required federal action before she was charged with stealing tax money. And the state of Tennessee, she's friends with the Judiciary, she's friends with Supreme Court justices. They took her law license away for less than 3 months. She adjudicated that I'm not candid, although I have never been convicted of crime. It's been 7 years later, I still don't have my law license, still trying to fight for them, still picking up the banner, picking up the baton from the Memorial Day soldiers. And as you hear the wonderful church bell, and she committed a crime, dishonest, adjudicated against me, adjudicated against other people too probably, denied them their law license, saying they weren't candid while she was committing a crime. And she got her law license back within 3 months. So she's a practicing attorney right now. She adjudicated I'm not honest. Like Jeffrey Ward, the violent man. And I still don't have my law license. Soldiers didn't fight for that crooked system. And let's not allow them to get by with that. Tennessee federal corruption timeline. 1992, David Lanier, Chancery Judge, sexually assaulted 8 women in his courtroom. Done much worse than me. I've got enough scars to know to fight. Do you? If you don't already, you don't have to. You will. Most likely, they put 2,500 people in jail unlawfully. And more than that, that's just what they're reporting. And that's just DUI. What about the other crimes? Let's pick up the baton and fight for the Constitution. The courts are taking away our due process, our rights. So the reason David Lanier was able to assault 8 women sexually in a courtroom, his brother was a district attorney, never charged by the state. Required civil rights prosecution to remove a judge in a courtroom that sexually assaulted people, women, 8 women in his courtrooms. How horrific. 2025, Tennessee Waltz, FBI sting, 12 convictions. State legislators caught on camera stuffing cash in their pockets. That's what this is about. Their benefit and your demise in power. That's not what soldiers fought for, a government that will steal money, take money to pass laws. Soldiers fought for constitutional laws to protect the citizenry against the government. These people are taking money to pass laws that don't protect you. State legislators caught on camera stuffing cash in their pockets. 2017, Casey Moreland, Nashville General Sessions Judge, traded rulings for sex. Burner phone, tried to plant drugs on witnesses, stole from his own drug court charity. Wow. This is just what we know of. The tip of the iceberg. What they put out. Much more heinous, worse underneath the surface. It's a cartel, according to people in government power that stand up against it too. 2025, Glenn Costa, Cade Catherine, Robin Smith, House Speaker, they set up a shell company to help the government spread a message paid for you by your tax money, and stole their own benefit, part of the other legislators, and now they make it more difficult for people outside the government to spread a message truthfully against people in government power doing you wrong. They want a one-way street. They want you to pay for their government message. They're doing such a wonderful job for you. And they're making it almost deadly to pass out a message against them for the mass populace of Tennesseans. That's how dangerous this is. It's a fight. Let's pick up the baton. David Lanier, a judge, his robes, and his brother, the DA. He was the only chancery and juvenile court judge for Dyer and Lake counties in western Tennessee. He was part of a political dynasty, and that's what it's about. They got a dynasty. They protect each other. They had dominated the region for decades, and from 1988 to 1991, while wearing his judicial robes, he sexually assaulted 8 women, courthouse employees, clerks, litigants with cases before him. He used his power as a weapon, which is what they do in the state of Tennessee now in the dirty court system. And he's the detail that tells you everything about how Tennessee works. His brother, James Lanier, was the local district attorney. Not one state charge was ever filed. It took the federal government using the same civil rights statute they used on cops who beat Rodney King to prosecute him. They protect each other. They used 18 U.S.C. number 242, civil rights. First judge ever convicted under this law in the state of Tennessee. Imagine that. Federal grand jury indictment, May 1992, 11 counts, deprivation of rights under code of law. Court convicted December 18, 1992 on 7 counts, sentenced to 25 years. Sentence consecutive. Sixth Circuit reversed in 1995. Wow, they reversed his conviction. U.S. Supreme Court unanimously reversed the reversal, so his conviction stands. United States versus Lanier, 520 U.S.C. 25, 1997. Rather than surrender, now this is a judge in Tennessee, caught, indicted, convicted. Federal authorities charged him, and when his conviction was upheld before the United States Supreme Court, he fled to Mexico. A judge that sets your bond, and a bond is so that you won't flee the country. Knowing all this, steps on soldiers' blood and doesn't like the Constitution of America that applied to him fairly in that one incident that took years and years. You'd have been under the jail, fled to Mexico. In 1997, under the alias Arbery Thompson, captured at a post office in Uganda, picking up a shipment of blank ID cards. First judge in American history convicted under 18 U.S.C. 242. One judge. Look at all the corruption by the judiciary and their immunity all across Tennessee, all across the United States. One judge, first one. The reason David Lanier was never charged, let's just be brutally honest, by the state is sitting right in plain sight. His brother was a prosecutor, a nepotism. How many incidences of that do we have in state power? I can show you picture on picture on picture of relatives promoting relatives or standing beside their relatives that are in state power. It's all one big criminal syndicate. It's crooked as hell. It's not what soldiers fought for. Pick up the banner. Lanier, this tells you about political protection. His brother. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a documented fact in the federal court record. The local prosecutor supposed to protect those 8 women was the defendant's brother. That's what political protection inside the courts looks like. It doesn't look like a bribe. Sometimes it looks like a family member with a badge and title who simply decides nothing to see here when there is, or something to see when there's not, depending on if they want to prosecute you, then they lie about that too. And so sometimes it looks like a family member with a badge and a title who simply decides nothing to see here. The only people who saw something were the federal government, and they had to go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to make it stick. That's how difficult it is on these cases, and some of them never are discovered, and if they are discovered, they're still overlooked. TBL denied my law license, cited my political speech, political criticism of the judiciary. Same pattern, the people criticizing control the gatekeeping mechanism. You criticize us legitimately for committing crimes against you while you got your law license, although you committed a crime of dishonesty, and you call me dishonest, but I'm not allowed to say that. Wow, shut up, Van. No, I'm picking up the baton. Soldiers' blood meant truth and honesty and a court system that's not a bunch of crooks, which is what they are. Federal case number 326 CV 00020, challenging the gatekeeping is unconstitutional. Their motion to dismiss thus far has been dismissed. It's still a live controversy. I'm challenging 4 soldiers, they can't fight, that the government in the state of Tennessee, all across the United States of America, it'll be a landmark decision if I am fortunate enough, if you are fortunate enough to win, that the people in the government, in the legal system, are running our cartel, are not handling the rules according to the Constitution, are violating the Constitution in their rulemaking and their decisions. I'm challenging that in federal court. I'm doing it the right way. And they're even saying, don't even sue us and challenge our unconstitutional behavior. You can't even say that. We'll use that against you. We'll use the fact that you're fighting us civilly in a courtroom. I mean, people say, they look down on people that sue people. If you sue somebody, that's bad. No, it's not. You shouldn't sue your family. But when you have a controversy against somebody who's horrifically damaged you, then you don't go beat them up, shoot them, have a shootout, see who's the fastest gun. Today, instead of duels, we have a court system that settles the duels in court before supposedly an unbiased tribunal. So we don't use bullets, we use arguments. So what do you want? Do you want who's the fastest gun, the way they used to settle disputes? Or a court system? Court systems are a good thing. It is good to sue somebody when they have damaged you horrifically instead of going and shooting it out in the streets. It's civilized. That's a good thing. So what do they want? They want to shoot us out in the street. A lot of times, I believe, take our rights away. So Tennessee waltz. The FBI set the trap and Tennessee walked right into it. And they still would today. The FBI set up fake elections recycling company called eCycle Management and used it to offer cash to Tennessee legislators in exchange for favorable legislation. Imagine that. They set up companies, FBI, and offered legislators, said, we're part of eCycle Management. We're going to recycle electronics. Setting up this company. We're going to give you money if you will write this bill using your public office, write this bill in the legislature to help our company, write rules in the company's favor. Here's some money to do that. Buying laws in their favor. And legislators in Tennessee, are you crazy? Do you think that they would accept money to pay for laws? There's no way they would do that. There was no convictions out of that. Are you crazy? Yeah, right. They set up 150 and marked bills and recorded every transaction on video. On the morning of May 26, 2005, they arrested 11 state and local officials simultaneously. 11 took the bait, willing to take money to pass laws. Wow. They do it all the time today in Tennessee, taking money from companies that they shouldn't take money from, making it legal to do that. Now, still the same deal. Making laws against the mass populace of Tennesseans that adversely affect you and pass laws for billionaire corporations and pay back the corporations with contracts. Total 12 convictions when they did that then, 2005. This is what we know of. They made it legal today. They got smarter. Let's just change the laws. Make it legal to take money. State Senator John Ford, one of the most powerful men in Tennessee legislature, was caught on camera stuffing $10,000 cash into his pockets. He told the FBI agent, you are talking to the guy who makes the deals. I'll be your front man for rules. If you pay me enough money, I'll make whatever laws you want to. And I'm a public servant serving the mass populace of Tennesseans. And that's the only one that's ever done that, those 11, and it's all good now, right? Yeah, no, it's not. It's even worse now. He was also charged with threatening to kill a witness, according to sources. $150,000 in FBI bribe money payments, 12 convictions total, 2003 to 2007. Operation senators, representatives, and commissioners who got convicted on screen. List these. Senator John Ford, Democrat, Memphis, took $55,000 in bribes, threatened to kill a witness, convicted April 27th. Sentenced to 66 months, he served 52. State Senator Russ Q. Dixon, convicted 5 years in prison. State Senator Ward Crutchfield, guilty plea. State Senator Catherine Bowers, guilty plea. State Senator Chris Newton, guilty plea, 9 months. Hamilton County Commissioner William Cotton, convicted. He got 3 years. Started from a tip about a Shelby County Juvenile Courts office involved in scam corruption. Is how they got the lead and went all the way to Nashville. And I allege that it's still going on today, on Memorial Day. That's not the government in 2026 that Patrick Fitzgibbon laid down his life for us to let go to these thugs. We need to pick up the banner, like and share, subscribe to the channel. Help me get this message out. So, after Operation Tennessee Waltz, the governor at the time, Phil Bredesen, admitted that public confidence in the state government had been shaken and called a special session to consider ethics reform. Why? Because at the time of the sting, Tennessee was described as having some of the weakest ethics laws in the nation. And they got laws on the books now, they just don't follow them. These legislatures weren't operating in a vacuum. They were operating a system that practically invited corruption because there were no guardrails. And any guardrails that they have now, they've taken them away and made it almost legally impossible for safety to be able to politically campaign against this corruption and do anything about it because of laws that they have made to criminalize public speech, to criminalize campaigning and leafleting, and refusal to protect people who are actively involved in political campaigns, but passing laws to deter us from doing that, protecting the establishment. The FBI had to build them a fake company and pay them to get caught because nobody inside the state was watching them. And that's still true today. What changed? What didn't? Tennessee Ethics Commission, created as a direct result of Tennessee Waltz in 2006. Tennessee described a time as having some of the weakest ethical laws in the nation. Fox News 2005 said that. What didn't change? No independent oversight of the judiciary. Still to this day, I'm the independent oversight of the judiciary. You're the independent oversight of the judiciary. Subscribe to the channel. Be the independent voice of against the corruption in the judiciary. Nobody's doing this. It's dangerous work. No prosecutor assigned to the judicial misconduct. Board of Judicial Conduct still appointed by the same Supreme Court it oversees. Nothing's changed. Except it's gotten worse, and they've written laws to where what they do is not even illegal anymore. They can legally do it even though it's harmful to society. A judge who assaulted 8 women in his robes while his brother looked the other way. 12 Tennessee officials caught stuffing FBI cash in their pockets on camera. A national judge with a burner phone and a fake name trying to plant drugs on a witness. A House Speaker running a shell company with stolen taxpayer money, convicted, then pardoned, and then 3 state-level judges. The Board of Judicial Conduct discipline right here in Tennessee, that's a tip of the iceberg. They pissed somebody off, including who ordered a defendant to pay restitution directly to himself. A judge ordered a defendant to pay restitution to him. So share the broadcast, support the mission. And let's look at Casey Moreland. a Tennessee judge who got himself a burner phone, just like somebody in a criminal sentence would do, so he couldn't be traced. He even was involved in setting up a witness and trying to buy a witness off. Hello, Kelly, Keith, Casey, Janskett, hello. And he fought the way by himself, or he did it with a, there's not a real law that contravened common law. Okay. Thank y'all for your comments. Like and share. So, let's talk about Casey Moreland, a Tennessee crooked judge that we know of. There's more we don't. There's more we don't know about. He was a Davidson County General Sessions judge in Nashville. He heard civil cases, criminal cases, traffic cases. He also funded a drug treatment court program and a non-profit charity to support it called the Davidson County Drug Foundation. He was the picture of a community-minded judge. That's what they portray him as. That's what they portray him as. They build up their character. Community-minded judge. All these judges they have the public perception, try to promote that they're great people. But my investigations, my life experience, and the FBI investigation that started in 2017 told a different story. Investigators were looking into whether Moreland was trading favorable court rulings for sexual favors. Imagine that. Happened right here in Knox County. This is another county. But this is all of it. It's not happening anymore. Soldiers paid the price for what's going on good in the court system in Tennessee. No, they didn't. Pick up the baton that they laid. Let's make it better. When he found out he was targeted, instead of cooperating, he got a burner phone, registered under the name Paul Rodriguez, and went to work covering it up. Moreland devised a scheme to pay a marital witness to sign a false affidavit recanting her statement about his conduct. And when that failed, he devised a scheme to have drugs planted in the witness's car ever stopped by police and arrested to destroy her credibility. Would a judge in Tennessee set something up to try to destroy your credibility? No, they wouldn't do that. They did in this case. They have with me a political candidate on the ballot, and you look at what's on Google, trying to destroy my credibility. None of it is true. None of it is true whatsoever at all. People that are in the parties actively campaigning have went on a limb to try to destroy my credibility when they're dirtbags. If you look at their lives, they're trash. And Tennessee court judges have went along with the program adjudicating that I have no First Amendment rights. They do in their court opinions, but I can't contest that. Well, I don't beg to differ. I emphatically, forcefully differ. I have a First Amendment right. It's not given by the Tennessee Constitution or the federal Constitution. It's God-given. The Tennessee Constitution just recognizes it. It's unfortunate for you judges in Tennessee that you don't recognize it or honor that, because your recognition and honor makes no difference in taking away my constitutional rights. I'm still going to speak out against you. He was communicating with the FBI informants who recorded every conversation. Separately, he stole cash directly from the drug court foundation he founded, directed its director to destroy financial documents. Moreland outcome in the quote that says everything, the verdict. Moreland pleaded guilty. Barbara Zulica pleaded guilty. Charles Van Morgan is innocent. I don't just say that, I am innocent. The facts support that. Sentenced to 44 months in federal prison by Chief U.S. District Judge Waverly Crenshaw. Crenshaw said from the bench, and I want you to hear this, Everyone, even judges, are subject to the rule of law. Our soldiers fought and died for the American way of life, for the Constitution, and even judges should be subject to the Constitution and should be forced to honor that. That's what soldiers wanted, and that's what we need to pick up the baton and make sure that they do, because they don't right now. Think about that sentence. That's a federal judge had to say that out loud in 2018 in America about a sitting judge. I'm saying that right now about people. How you doing?
Good day, man.
You too. That's what I'm doing right now, calling out the judiciary in the state of Tennessee. Federal prosecutors called it one of the most shocking cases of misconduct by a public official. That's just the tip of the iceberg in the district that they've ever seen. He was disbarred by the Tennessee Supreme Court. His pension was stripped. And the drug court he built, designed to give people second chances, was a vehicle he used to steal from. The good that they do is just a vehicle that they use for their own alternative personal motives. That's just one example. He was sentenced to 44 months in federal prison November 3rd, 2018. Ordered to pay $18,000 restitution, forfeiture $13,500, disbarred by the Tennessee Supreme Court because they had to. This pension strip, everyone, even judges, are subject to the rule of law, or are they? We need to make sure that they are. That's the fight. That's the baton that we need to pick up right now. Chief U.S. District Judge Waverly Crenshaw, November 3rd, 2018. And Phoenix Solutions was a shell company, and that is money that these former speakers siphoned, your tax money that they're given money to put out the message of the government, and they even siphon off that. That's how crooked they are. And they make it hard for Tennesseans to speak out against the government. You can get killed because of new laws that they passed as far as the trespassing laws. So these people in government power are crooked as hell. And let's look at state level. No federal case needed. Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct's on record. And these are just the cases that they pointed out. Judge Randolph ordered the defendant to pay him personally. State discipline. You don't need a federal case to see the problem. The Tennessee Board of Judicial Conduct keeps its own public record. Judge R. Stephen Randolph of Putnam County. And they don't even keep investigations. Make them public. They keep them private. This is just cases where they found wrongdoing, and they found there's wrongdoing in other cases that they don't make public, and they protect some people. Stephen Randolph of Putnam County publicly recommended on October 14, 2014, because he ordered a non-speaking English unrepresented defendant to pay $590 in restitution directly to the judge for damage to the judge's own truck. The reprimand later noted the restitution to the judge was solely his ideal, a judge using his bench to collect money from a defendant for his own personal property damage. That is the definition of using judicial power for personal financial gain, and the worst he got was a letter. And defendant, non-speaking English, most vulnerable litigant. The Bureau of Justice reprimand letter, the arrangement was solely Randolph's ideal. That was the second reprimand, first for a social media video pre-declaring truancy sentences. He was punished, but he's still on the bench. He used the bench to adjudicate financially in his favor. Didn't recuse himself. Judge Shakinen, ex parte call, freed a man serving 162 years in prison. Judge Paula Shakem of Shelby County Criminal Court publicly reprimanded February 14, 2024. She ordered the release of a prisoner serving a 162-year sentence before a petition was ever filed. She had ex parte communications with the district attorney's office, meaning she talked to the prosecutors without the defense present, which is illegal. The Board of Judicial Conduct reprimanded, explicitly cited concerns with the trial's court's ex parte communications with the district attorney general's office. She spoke privately with one side of the case, then made a ruling that freed a man serving 162 years. Her punishment for violating the law, the Constitution, was a letter. You violate the Constitution, see what happens to you. Ex parte communication, talking to one side of the case without the other side present, fundamental violation of due process of law. I've seen it happen in real time. Ordered prisoner released before his post-conviction petition was ever filed. The BJC concerned with the trial court's ex parte conversation with the district attorney general's office. They do that all the time. Punishment, public reprimand. Still sits on the bench today. Judge Melissa Boyd of Shelby County Criminal Court received 4 public reprimands and intern suspension, a criminal indictment for witness corrosion and harassment, and a formal recognition for removal from the Board of Judicial Conduct, all between May 23rd and January 2024. The Board of Judicial Conduct's Chief Disciplinary Counsel stated on the record, "There's more than enough to suggest that this particular jurist is unfit to sit as a criminal court judge in the state of Tennessee." Get this, the cocaine problem alone is hugely problematic. A state court judge with a cocaine problem. She resigned April 2nd, 2024, days before the General Assembly was set to vote on her removal. Then plead guilty to harassment April 5th, 2024, 3 days after resigning. These are just cases we know about. The documented record. May 8, 2023, first public reprimand. May 22nd, 2023, interim suspension. October 31st, 2023, second public reprimand. December 2023, criminal indictment. Witness coercion and harassment. Now that's what they accused me of. They didn't get no conviction, didn't plead guilty, didn't have no evidence. I went before these judges that do this stuff. January 24th, 2024, formal recommendation of removal by the Board of Judicial Conduct. April 2nd, 2024, resigned days before General Assembly removal vote. April 5th, 2024, pled guilty to harassment. There is more than enough to suggest this particular jurist is unfit to sit as a criminal court judge in the state of Tennessee. The cocaine problem alone is hugely problematic. There's more than enough to suggest that a hell of a lot of Tennessee judges are unfit to serve as lawyers or jurists in the state of Tennessee. A bunch of them. So the through line, political influence inside the courts, why nobody gets stopped. This is why this stuff goes on. Let's talk about that. So like, share, and comment and subscribe and donate if you can. So the system that protects itself, how political influence works inside Tennessee courts. The indictment. Here's how political influence works inside Tennessee courts, and it's not always a bribe. A judge in Tennessee is appointed by the governor under a council that he controls. So the governor controls the adjudications, the rulings by the Tennessee Supreme Court. They're not rulings, a lot of times, according to facts and law and the Constitution. They're not rulings that soldiers shed their blood to get constitutional rulings. They're rulings by what the governor tells them to do. He set up the judiciary that way. That judge then stands for attention, a yes or no vote, where political money flows in from the same lawyers and donors who appear before these judges. The same law firms that give to your retention campaign now have cases on your docket. They're paying for you to put a message out by the public, to the public. Part of our tax money is paying for their message too. They get a certain amount to send out messages to what great, wonderful things the judges are doing in the state of Tennessee, which is not true. I'm allowed to say that. It's America, can't I? That's what you go to jail for, but that's the truth, and I'm going to keep saying it. Not all judges, a huge part of them. And they get money from lawyers to give them to their campaigns. They run for office based on this lawyer's money. They get to spread a message of how wonderful and beautiful they are, how constitutional they are, how they help the mass populace of Tennesseans. That's a lie. That's not true. They don't. They help the governor. They help the attorney general. They help the people in power. And they breadcrumb you, or sometimes they demolish you. And their rulings are against gravity. They're against reality. They lie, lie, lie. That's the truth. Now, in a war, there's propaganda. This is a war of propaganda, of messaging. And they put out a false message. They lie to you. And they're helped with this lies by judges that came before them. And when by lawyers that come before them. And when a lawyer comes before them that has given money so that they can spread out a message how wonderful they are, they adjudicate in that lawyer's favor. The same law firms that give to your retention campaign now have a case on your docket. The same governor who appointed you controls the judicial appointments council that recommends your colleagues. And the Board of Judicial Conduct that's supposed to discipline judges appointed the Tennessee Supreme Court. The court oversees its own conduct. The fox designing the hen house. That's not a conspiracy. That's the structure of the courts. And it's all legal. It's all legal. They've designed it in such a manner that it rules for them all the time, every time, against the mass populace of Tennesseans. Judicial appointment. Governor controls the Council for Judicial Appointments under Executive Order 87. Bill Lee appointed 3 of the 5 sitting Tennessee Supreme Court justices. So he's got the majority of the court in his damn pocket. Now, I'm not supposed to say that. They don't like me saying it, but I just said it. I know for a fact that they do. I've had legitimate, easy cases before them. As easy as adjudicating a light is off when it is off. And the courts back up rogue judges that say a light is on when it's not on. So they adjudicate for the governor against the truth. Get this, they adjudicate for the governor against you and the truth because he's got them in his pocket. He's the one that gave them their damn jobs. They want to keep their damn jobs. In order to be appointed to a higher court, simple. You compete for approval by the governor. And this is in our justice system. This is in our courts. This is what soldiers fought against. Soldiers fought for the Constitution, our right to have a fair, unbiased tribunal, our right to due process. These judges look at all that due process and say, I want to get promoted, and they forget all about that and adjudicate for the governor. Because if you're at a trial court level and you want to be promoted to appeals court, you adjudicate for the governor. You compete for violating the Constitution and ruling in his favor. If you rule in his favor enough, you've got the confidence. He's got the confidence in you that you'll lie for him. He's a Christian governor. He's honest. You believe that? I don't. I know that's not true. I know for a fact it's not true. I've seen it real live time. I don't believe the propaganda. I'm asking you not to believe it either. And if you adjudicate at a trial court level for the governor, you'll get promoted to a higher level court where you have more power. If you at the appeals court rule for the governor, you'll get appointed to the highest court in the state of Tennessee. The Supreme Court is the supreme adjudicator for the governor in the state of Tennessee. If you fight for the governor, you'll be appointed SMUT to the Tennessee Attorney General, where you can take Tennesseans' money and adjudicate against them for the governor. We even pay them to rule against us. Pretty good system they got, and it's all legal. That's not a conspiracy. That's the way the system is set up against you for them. On this Memorial Day, that's not what soldiers fought for. That's not what soldiers fought for. Let's not let their blood be shed in vain. Let's not let these people in public power step all over the Constitution on their way to gluttonous power and abuse all of us Tennesseans, using a Christian banner to do that. Nice try, Dick Tracy. Where'd you get your first clue? Yeah. Look at what they're doing, I'm telling you. Judicial appointment. Governor controls the Council of Judicial Appointments under Executive Order 87. He controls 3 of the 5 sitting Tennessee Supreme Court justices. Political money flows from law firms who appear before the same judges. Caperton versus Massey established this creates due process issues. But Tennessee courts have consistently refused recusal on these grounds. So they won't even remove a judge who's taking money from a lawyer that comes before his court, and he's got money because he's allowed to be a lawyer because of the Tennessee Board of Law Examiners, who won't allow other lawyers and picks and choose who's lawyers, which is a cartel. So you come before him and you haven't given that judge any campaign money. So he adjudicates in the lawyer's money that's funded his campaign. They do that. I know they do that. I've seen them do it. So, and they're allowed to adjudicate in a courtroom before a lawyer that's helped them win public office, win their job, that's funded their messaging, their campaign, and you come in there and you don't have the money to, and you haven't funded their campaign, and the judge doesn't have to say, I have to step down because this lawyer has funded my campaign. He's still allowed to adjudicate that case between somebody that's given money and you that hasn't. And what do you think he's going to do? I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to adjudicate in favor of the lawyer that's funding his damn campaign. That's what they do. Bar admission. TBL denied me a license, cited my political speech, public criticism of the judiciary. After the second time, I didn't criticize him the first time. Now get this, and I promised y'all this. I'm not the only one saying this. I'm not the only one saying this. There are good people in our government, in the United States of America, that are speaking the truth. I'm on the outside, kicking the door down, symbolically trying to get in to tell the mass populace of Tennesseans. There are some people on the inside who are fighting this fight honorably for the soldiers from the inside too. Very few. I'm not the only one saying this. This is not conspiracy theory, not hocus pocus, not trying to take over a government with violence. This is the truth, fighting peacefully, carrying the banner of truth. Join me, please. Subscribe to the channel. U.S. Attorney now calls this entire system a cartel. A United States Attorney does that. So, what a governor candidate can do, and I will, and I'm also doing something in the federal court system and on this channel. And we can call out corruption, the 3 state disciplinary records and 1 structured corruption that doesn't require a single bribe because it's built into the entire system. A judge who sexually assaulted 8 women while his brother looked the other way. Legislators caught on camera stuffing FBI money in their pockets. A Nashville judge with a burner phone trying to plant drugs on a witness. A House Speaker running a shell company with a fake name convicted, then pardoned. 3 state judges who used their benches for personal gains, ex parte dealings, drug abuse, punished with letters while they kept their gavels. I passed the bar twice. I served 18 years in law enforcement. I filed a federal civil rights lawsuit. The state tried to kill, and it's failed so far. The U.S. attorney from his district is calling the system a cartel. A governor can refuse to appoint corrupt judges, which is exactly what I would do, and appoint judiciary who would sometimes disagree. And win or lose, we can appoint judiciary who will protect the rights of Tennesseans. 3 state judges who use their benches for personal gain, ex parte dealings, and drug abuse punished with letters while they kept their gavels. So I filed a civil rights suit. The U.S. attorney for this district is calling the system a cartel. A governor can refuse to appoint court judges. A governor can demand transparency. A governor can use the bully pulpit. That's what I'll do, and that's what we do from this channel, even if we don't win the governor's office. If you want that, then support the channel, support the governor campaign, support my federal lawsuit, and support this fight. Here is just one example of a judge that was reappointed in my case. I've lived through this, I've seen it. Judge Randall Lefevre was not on the docket. They do it by random assigning cases. My case came up and it was assigned to Judge Agent, A-D-G-E-N-T docket. He adjudicated previously in a trooper's favor, put him back to work justifiably, Marty Nix. Adjudicated they should put him back to work. Now the state went on, it's like I said, if the trial court judge is a fair judge, he won't ever get promoted. They went on to appeal it to the Chancery Court, which is a higher level judge. They got the Chancery position by ruling for the governor. So if you don't win if you win at the trial court, don't worry about that. They don't worry about that. They'll appeal it to the higher level courts that are handpicked by the governor. But they reassign this judge, reassign handpicked judge to rule for the state. Judge Randall Lefevre reassigned to run a crooked road court system rule for the governor. I've seen it firsthand. The Tennessee Board of Law Examiners collects your tax money. They got $786,765, almost $1 million in tax money from federal student loans. Adjudicate, take the money, and then adjudicate after you've paid them that you can't compete with them because of friendships and relatives that they have in government power. So here is one case where they adjudicated that a judge adjudicated to a lie. And so interrogation transcript, December 14, 2011, page 1 and 2, Sergeant Johnson. And just to clarify, there are 3 of us here. Ron and I will be conducting the interview, page 1. Captain Donnie Cohen, he's going to be observing. And administrative hearing, June 26, page 111, line 20, that starts at page 1. Okay, at the very bottom of the page, it says Sergeant Johnson. I assume that's correct, yes. And Ron and I will be conducting the interview. Captain Donahoe recently returned. Do you see that? Yes. So, 2 THP sergeants and 1 THP captain questioned Mr. Morgan for a few minutes short of 2 hours and returned him to duty after interrogation, not just Sergeant Johnson, Sergeant Cockrell, as he said in the beginning of the interrogation. So they lied about in the interview and got that through a rogue court system. So here is a Administrative hearing where a judge lied. Page 28, lines 3 and 5. Now this is an official record where they swear to tell the truth. Here's the judge. The court judge, Judge Randall Lefevre, who was reassigned to do something crooked. This is the judiciary, and soldiers fought for the Constitution, a judiciary that obey the Constitution, give people due process rights. Page 28, lines 3 to 25. Court, so why are you hammering this witness about whether your client saw the video or not? Mr. Parks, because this witness said they sat down together and watched the video. Court, that's right. That's what he said. Now take that and move on. Is your client going to say that didn't happen? Absolutely. And this is what the judge said. But hold on. Mr. Morgan, are you saying you didn't sit down with this officer, with the sergeant, and view the video with him? Mr. Morgan, that day the interview was conducted. I did not sit down with him and review the video. No, sir, I did not. Court, all right. We've got 2 conflicting testimonies from 2 different witnesses, so move on. I will make a decision about who's telling the truth. Now, that's the judge, the one that was replaced, handpicked to adjudicate for the governor. Page 117, line 1625, Mr. Parks' question. The interview was 2 hours long. Answer, Sergeant Johnson, yes. Okay. So Sergeant Johnson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol over Internal Affairs, where Lionel Russell come from, was sitting before a judge that was handpicked. Now, he wasn't handpicked to uphold the Constitution. He was handpicked to lie for the state, to step on soldiers' blood. Judge Randall Lefevre stepped on soldiers' blood, ignored the Constitution. Let's pick up the torch and make it a constitutional court and fight against these dirty liars. It's horrific what they're doing. So Sergeant Johnson testified in court under oath that he sat down with me before the interview out in Nashville, and me and him watched the interview of that pursuit on Andersonville Pike in 2011, where they accused me of doing something I didn't do. He says me and him sat down together, and I made some statements in an unrecorded interview, of course, that never took place. He said that under oath. We contested him in court. You said you watched the video. 2 different statements before a Tennessee judge. One, me under oath saying we didn't sit down and watch that video. Me and Sergeant Johnson did. He said that we did. Now, this is a Tennessee judge handpicked to lie. This is what they'll do to you. They do it to a lot worse. They've still got this legal binding lie today. So Sergeant Johnson, he got promoted for that lie. He's a captain now. So they get promoted for lying. If you lie, you get more advancement in the government. Stepping on the blood of soldiers. And judges will adjudicate that the lie is the truth. That's how dangerous and seditious and crooked it is. Soldiers didn't fight for that. They fought for me and people like you against a rogue judiciary and rogue dirty public officials lying. So Sergeant Johnson said that me and him sat down and watched the video. I said we didn't. I never watched the video with him. He said that happened before, of course, that he started recording and we started the interrogation. So he lied. An interview before the interview never took place. He lied about that. Under oath, was even questioned about it. Here's what he said in the interrogation that's recorded, the transcript that he's referring to. December 14, 2011, page 1. Johnson, today is December 14, 2011, approximately 12:04 p.m. I'm Sergeant Terrell Johnson with the Internal Investigation Unit. We are in the Cooper Hall conference room. Up in the room we have Trooper Van Morgan. Is that correct, Van Morgan? Yes, sir. Johnson. Okay. We're going to do is I will briefly explain to you today. We're just here to discuss the pursuit that you were involved in on November 26th in the early morning hours, 2011. Before we get started, though, what we need to do is we have to give you the nomination of rights. It's a form self-explanatory. I'll ask you to read it over for you. Any questions concerning what it means or have any options, we'll be glad to answer. Now, this is the recorded interview. Now, he says something took place before this. But this is what he's saying on the interview that was recorded. But he said something happened before that where I admitted things that wasn't recorded. And he said that under oath, and a Tennessee judge backed him up. Morgan, I'm willing to make statements and answer questions anytime. I said I was willing to answer questions. Johnson, okay, you said you watched the video. Yes, sir, I watched it several weeks ago. So he just said that me and him in court later, he said me and him watched that video just a few minutes before he started this, because he said that we watched it under oath, and we never did. And in the interview that was recorded, he said, okay, you said you watched the video. And I said, yes, sir. He didn't say, in addition to, we just watched it. He said, you said you watched it. And I said several weeks ago, I didn't say we just watched it. So in the recorded part of the interview, it refutes what he's saying wasn't recorded already. I watched it several weeks ago. Okay, was it in your patrol car or was it out on TV? No, it was in my patrol car, and I went back in with a supervisor. I didn't do anything that a supervisor didn't give me an order to do. I notified them immediately. They were notified during the pursuit. I went to the Knoxville Post with an investigator from CID, and we looked at the video there. Johnson, how many times have you looked at the video? Answer, I think we looked at it one time and then one time in slow motion. And then, okay, that's the recorded part of the interview. They brought me in, they started that. There was no interview where I sat down with Mr. Johnson and made any statements outside of what we watched. And you can tell from the recorded part that he's lying under oath because of what the recorded interview said. So he's a liar and a captain and getting your tax money right now. Because if I'd watched the video with him, why didn't I say, yeah, man, you just watched it? Because he knows he's lying. We conclude the interview at 13:30 on the same day. We appreciate your time, sir. End of the interview. So the beginning of the interview was December 14th, 2011 at 12:04. Nothing happened before that. He said that me and him sat down in the interview before that. During that interview that's recorded, he asked me if I'd seen the interview. I said several weeks ago. I didn't say we just watched it. In court, he testifies that we just watched it. So, and he's testifying in front of a judge that's on his side, lie under oath or not. That's how crooked they are. The start of the interview, December 14th, at 12:04 p.m. 2011 at 12:04 p.m. to the end of December 14th, 2011 at 13:38, representing the entire interrogation I had with Sergeant Johnson. The video was not watched on the day with Sergeant Johnson or any other time with Sergeant Johnson. Mr. Johnson perjured himself under oath clearly about me and him watching the video and about me saying I saw fire on the car. So he says that during this interview that wasn't recorded, that really never took place, that he made it up. He made up evidence because he wanted to say in court that I admitted that I saw fire on the car when I passed the car, which I never said. And I didn't say that in the interview when I passed the video, when I passed the car. But he wants to say that I did say that, but it just happens to be not in any recorded part. But you can tell in the recorded part that we never had that discussion or never watched the video, and that discussion never took place. He's lying under oath before a set-up judge. So, because he's trying to interject material evidence that never happened and perjuring himself to do it. And he's even questioned about it under oath and stuck to it, and the judge backed him up because he's a hand-picked judge. And and about me saying I saw it affected, let's see, Mr. Johnson perjured himself under oath clearly about me and him watching the video and about me saying I saw the fire on the car. It affected the outcome of the litigation because the administrative law judge said the car could have possibly been on fire. The car, based on the evidence, the video, me as eyewitness, another eyewitness, was in fact not on fire. This is material fact. They are attempting to light up the car and make it appear easily visible. It was not even making up evidence that never happened, that you can clearly see based on the written record, is a lie, is false. So what a tangled web we weave when at first we attempt to deceive. And they've held that deception for about 14 years now. This crooked court system is dirty as hell, and you can't get the truth out of them, and they will do that to you. So they are adjudicating right now for people from other countries that don't have a birth certificate, have power over you in the Tennessee government, that aren't registered with a selective service, have power over you in Tennessee government. I have a birth certificate, here's mine, and I registered with a selective service. They have people in the state of Tennessee, in the Tennessee Highway Patrol, who are liars that aren't even American citizens, that weren't, and the judges adjudicated to give them American citizenship. They didn't register for selective service. Not only are in the THP, that's the reason why we need to pick up the banner from soldiers that fought and gave all for the American way of life. They're having illegal people take over this country. And see how close you can get. And they are having illegal aliens that were formerly, that they gave legal status to in the Highway Patrol, and they're having people that don't have a birth certificate in the United States from other countries practice law for their country and not allowing United States citizens, me, to practice law because of the cartel called out by a government official. So let's start this social movement. Continue it. It's been started months ago. Social movements arise because of a deep and widespread discontent. First, there's social change, which makes prevailing social relationships inappropriate, producing a strain between the new and the old. Strain then generates discontent within some social grouping. When discontent increases rapidly and is widely shared, collective efforts to alleviate discontent will occur. See, there is disagreement about how to formulate. And let's look at the Holy Scriptures. My defense is of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He sharpened his sword, it says. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. So God is the ultimate judge. And righteous will prevail. And these people in state power are running a cartel. And support campaign if you can. Here's a flyer that I made just yesterday that we're going to start putting out in the state of Tennessee. Policy positions: end corruptions, bought elections, secure our borders, protect our state, lower taxes for the Tennessee families, put Tennesseans first in jobs and opportunity, protect our rights, no more overreach, strong communities, safe communities, strong schools, safe communities, accountability in every public office. Enough is enough. Vote for change. So, contact all beats bought elections. So on this Memorial Day, remember the cartel in Tennessee government. A cartel is an association of independent business or nations that collide to limit competition by agreeing to fix prices, divide markets, or restrict production. Members artificially boost their collective profit in the U.S. and many other regions. And that's what they're doing to the legal profession in the state of Tennessee. So thank you all for joining me. We will continue to discuss the cartel in the government in the state of Tennessee and the ABA cartel as called out by, and show you the official document called out by a federal prosecutor in the United States of America. So thank you all for joining me. As always, like to try to say, remember, God loves you and I do too.